The cheese I eat every single week, I finally saw where it comes from. Nothing prepared me for what Rome looked like. And then my mom and I took a train to a city in Italy called Modena, walked down a country road, and walked into the factory where real Parmesan is made. I'm Vienna, like the city in Austria, not the sausage. And this is Wandering Vienna, where I talk about how my mom and I travel around the world and the money side of actually getting there. 20 countries across 5 continents, all on school breaks, the same breaks every student has. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you something about an island in Venice that I wasn't expecting. The history behind it is not what most people know before they get there. So make sure to stay to the end. So, the Parmesan. Real Parmesan, the kind from this region, is called Parmigiano Reggiano, and it can only be made in a specific area of Italy. Modena is one of those places. Not everywhere, just here. We took a tour of the factory, these enormous wheels of cheese, and each one takes about 550 liters of milk, one wheel, and they age for months, some of them years, just sitting in these massive rooms on wooden shelves, floor to ceiling, as far as you can see. The smell alone stopped me. I've eaten Parmesan my whole life, and I had no idea it looked like this. Then we walked down the same country road to the balsamic vinegar factory, operating since 1605. Real balsamic ages in barrels, with different sizes, different types of woods, for years. The oldest vinegar in that place has been aging for over a century. They let us taste it, nothing like what I put on a salad at home. Thick, almost sweet, like something completely different, wearing the same name. And then Modena is also where Ferrari, the car brand, was founded. And the Ferrari Museum is there. The actual cars, the actual history. I remember standing in front of one of those cars thinking, this city makes 3 things people obsess over: Parmesan, balsamic vinegar, and Ferrari cars. Same city, all 3 completely normal to the people who live there. 2 things I eat every week, and a car I've only ever seen in movies. Just one day in Modena. Modena was a day trip for us, and the city we actually were staying in had its own version of completely normal that stopped me. And Bologna. And it started with pigeons. Bologna is a walking city. Red roofed buildings everywhere, and porticos, covered walkways, built right into the architecture so you can walk the whole city without getting rained on. They've been doing that since the Middle Ages. And in the main square, Piazza Maggiore, my mom and I ran through a flock of pigeons and they all took off at once. Just this explosion of wings in every direction, completely unplanned. One of my favorite moments of the whole trip. There are 2 towers in Bologna that have been leaning since the 1100s. The taller one has 498 steps. We climbed it, and at the top, the whole city spread out below. Red rooftops as far as you can see. And it's 900 years old, still standing, still open to climb. And the flea market, the Mercato Piazzolla, happens every Friday and Saturday in the park. Clothing, antiques, food. We found things that we would have never found anywhere else. I even found like a cool old retro camera. So from Bologna, we went to Venice, which is about an hour and 20 minutes on a train. And Venice is a city I thought I understood before I got there. I didn't. Venice is built on water. I knew that. Everyone knows that. But knowing it and seeing it and standing on one of the walkways is completely different. There's no cars, no roads in a regular sense. You get around by boat or on foot. The streets are narrow and they just end at canals. You turn a corner and there's water in front of you. We took a water taxi to an island called Murano. That's where the glass blowing is. Murano has been making glass since 1291, and I watched someone make a glass vase from scratch, a blob of molten material on the end of a long rod. Through turns and breath and small tools, in a few minutes it became something. I've never seen anything made like that, by hand, start to finish, right in front of me. And the street vendors in Venice have fried calamari from vendors right on the waterfront. Fresh, standing there, eating it, looking at the Grand Central. And they have great pizza. And it's completely normal there, just a regular old Tuesday. And Venice is 1 hour from Florence by train. and Florence is where the Italy trip shifted into something I wasn't ready for. Florence is the birthplace of the Renaissance. That's what the textbooks say. Standing there, you start to understand what that actually means. The statue of David is in Florence, the real one, carved by Michelangelo from a single block of marble that other sculptors had already said was impossible to work with, and he was 26 when he started. I stood in front of it, and it was amazing. The photos don't prepare you for it. The detail in the hands, the tension in the posture, the expression, all of it cut from one piece of stone by someone younger than most people are when they finish college. The Uffizi Gallery is 2 minutes from the Ponte Vecchio Bridge. You'll see artists like Botticelli, Raphael, Michelangelo, Caravaggio, all in one building. Walking through it feels like every art textbook has come to life. In the Ponte Vecchio, a bridge lined with jewelry shops, lights on the water at sunset feels like too much for one afternoon. We climbed the Piazza Michelangelo at sunset, the whole city below, with red rooftops, the river, the dome of the cathedral. I'm 15 and I've been to this place, and I didn't take 1 second of it for granted. And now here's what the food and lodging actually cost, because the number might surprise you. Bologna, Modena, Venice, Florence. And I keep thinking about what it actually costs for us to be sitting in all of it. Food and lodging combined across the whole Italy on this venture was $66 a day per person for food and $49.89 a day per person for lodging. That's $115.89 a day per person total for Italy. People hear Italy and picture expensive, and some of it is, but most of what stopped us, the factory in Modena, the pigeons in Bologna, the glass blowing in Murano, the David in Florence, none of that needed a big budget. The getting there is a different conversation. And that's what the Wander window is for. My mom checks flight prices to our top 10 countries every single week. 15 minutes, and when the price drops on a school break, that's the trip. That's how we got to go to Italy. That's how we've gotten everywhere. And all of that happened in the same window you already have. But now, let's get into Venice and what happened there in 1291. So, Murano. In 1291, the Venetian government passed a law. All glassmakers had to move to this island, and if any of them tried to leave and take their knowledge with them, the punishment was death. Not exile, death. Because the glassmaking techniques were so valuable, the colors, the shapes, the things no one else in the world can make, that the government considered them a state secret worth killing to protect. And the family stayed and kept making glass for over 700 years. When I watched the glassmakers work, turning molten material into something in a few minutes, I kept thinking about all the generations before him or her who learned the same thing, father to son, mother to daughter, across centuries. And here we are, two people from the US on a school break, standing on a place that has been doing the same thing since 1291. That's what travel does that nothing else does. It puts you inside the story. Everything I'm sharing from our trip, what we saw, what we paid, what it felt like, things change. Your trip won't look exactly like ours. That's kind of the point. Comment below if this just changed how you see things. Subscribe to Wandering Vienna if you haven't yet. Hit the like button, it tells the algorithm you liked this content. I post content like this every single week. I don't want you to miss what's coming. Share this with a friend who you think needs to hear this. I'm Vienna, this is Wandering Vienna, and make sure to come back because there's always more to explore.